not just in attendance, but as a guide. So we're going to be introducing Katy soon. Thank you so much, everyone, for hopping in. If you, per usual, want to introduce yourself, why don't you share, if you're just thinking, now that we're getting more connected with one another, what's one weird thing about you? Clearly Dara's unmuted. That's a great laugh. Well, yes, I used to work in an organization called Delivering Happiness. And that was the question we always asked in our workshops. Because the thing is, we're all a little weird, it turns out. And so learning about something that's a little, that we might consider weird or strange is actually very normalizing, it turns out.
Yeah. I love to go to the horse races.
And that's Katy speaking, by the way, which is fabulous. And Katy, have you ever won big on the races?
No, but my former husband once won $1,300 on a $2 bet.
Wow, that is some steep odds, it sounds like. So, okay, look at this. Just to say, in terms of responses that we're getting here from the audience, this is probably my favorite list of things to date. I like to dance while I'm flossing. That is amazing. Thanks, Gina. Dan Brook. I've written several thousand haiku. I mean, who would have known? We're gonna have to have a haiku session. Mm-hmm. Wow. I mean, Marissa, amnesia from a bike crash.
Wow.
And then I love this one. Katy, your book changed my life. That's extremely weird, but also, I'm just kidding. That's probably an aside, but it's so true that you've touched so many people. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Amy, it's so good to see you, Amy. Teaching Chim sign language. I mean, how interesting is that? I would love to hear more about that, actually. If you want to share any more in the chat or any photos, links, I'm sure we'd all be excited. That's so cool, you guys. Thank you so much for sharing some of these snippets. And if you're just joining us, we're sharing where we're calling in from, but also one weird thing about ourselves. I need to do the same. So let me think something strange about me, or I'm going to think on it. I'm going to come up with something extremely weird. And then, see, it's not weird to say what we're wearing below the waist during COVID anymore. So that's not weird. Anyway, we should probably get started. Basically, we are here together in this unique time. And it's a time to be together. That's what this is about, and about making connections with people across the world and making deeper connections with yourself. And I've seen that happen again and again through the dose of togetherness. So it's just such a pleasure to have you here on this Wednesday edition, where we're going to be delving into some of the same themes, but today is going to be really focused on the concept of ritual. And I'm very excited to dive in with you. So with that in mind, yes, I am Brad Wolf, the executive director and founder of Reimagine. We are an organization aimed at transforming the end-of-life experience for ourselves and for our loved ones. But in transforming the end of life, we also hope to transform the experience of living.
Yeah.
And so that's what we've really been doing together through these conversations, especially in the face of something that does affect our experience of end of life. All of us presently witnessing grief, witnessing death, witnessing illness. How do we live, love, and face death through all of that during COVID-19? So that's why we're here. And a big shout out to our friends at the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley for helping kickstart this initiative with us. It's been such a beautiful journey. And per usual, I want to make sure that everyone is accustomed to Zoom. most of you have figured it out. And I think if you're new and you haven't been here before, there's some great tips that my colleague Dara is pointing out here. Mainly just to note, please keep your cameras on if you can. It's so nice to see your smiling faces. But of course, like everything, these are all your choice. Then please also turn your microphones on when we get to the breakouts. And yes, there are breakout sessions. That's our togetherness circles where we'll be in conversation with folks from across the world. And if you have a question or a comment, please use the chat button to ask us, and we can help get your technical needs sorted and just interface with the wonderful people that are part of this call. Now, with that in mind, I want to introduce you to someone very special. We're here today to be led in our grounding and our inspiration by Katy Butler. She has become a fast friend and is an award-winning medical journalist who's written 2 books about really improving the end-of-life experience. And Knocking on Heaven's Door, if you haven't heard of it, is a New York Times bestseller, and it was one of the top 100 notable books of the year. And she's also written an incredible book called The Art of Dying Well, both of which I highly recommend. She's a Buddhist and has a long history in the Buddhist tradition. She's actually been ordained in the Buddhist tradition by a Vietnamese Zen master. And she is here with us today to guide us in thinking about ritual with some words. She's also, just to say, she leads us and has been a big part of the virtual vigils that we've been creating. And because of Katy's great work, she's also recently invited Jack Hornfield to join us for the vigil coming up on the 9th of May. And so Katy and Jack will be part of the team that is leading that vigil. And so we're just very grateful to Katy for just her direction and inspiration, and take it away.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Brad. And thank you to everybody who has signed on. I can't see you yet, but I guess I will in a little while.
Here they come.
Oh, thank you. Oh, great. I think I'd like to share with you first and suggest that you name for yourself some of the losses and uncertainties that you are experiencing right now. I want to suggest you just put your hand on your heart, because I know a lot of us are missing the touch of other people, or being able to hug a friend, for example, or if we don't have a partner and we live alone. And it's actually, I'm finding it extremely comforting to touch my own heart, even though I can't touch my neighbor that I take a walk with once a week. I can no longer give her a hug, goodbye, and hello. And then I really experienced that as a loss. So given that the quarantine or the lockdown has now been extended in California for another month, I'm realizing I'm also experiencing the loss of hiking on Mount Tam, which is really a source of spiritual strength for me.
You've got mail.
Yeah, I've got mail. And my mail is I'm experiencing loss. I'm experiencing uncertainty. I'm experiencing the loss of a lot of routines. I used to have a coffee clutch every Saturday morning with a group of women friends at Starbucks. I think all of us have had to let go of certain routines, certain comforting rituals that we have had. And these could be just minor rituals like going to Starbucks, or it can be a much more major ritual, for example, for people who are Catholic and cannot go to Mass anymore. And times of uncertainty and times of transition are usually times that call for ritual. And so I've been thinking a lot about ritual. What is ritual? Usually we're gathered under one roof. We follow certain activities in unison. We all may be bowing together or kneeling together, reciting time-honored texts together. And there's a sense of familiarity, there's a sense of repetition, and there's this amazing sense of doing things in concert with other people. And rituals usually allow people to come to terms with changes in social relationships. So at a funeral, for example, the woman who has been a wife is formally invested in a new role, which is as a widow. And then she stands in the receiving line outside the temple or outside the church, and people are coming up to her and shaking her hand and saying, "I'm sorry for your loss." And so she's also having an opportunity to connect with others in relationship to the new role that she now has. And so we're in this extremely liminal time in which our social relationships are changing, but we don't know yet what they're changing into. And at least for me, I am really feeling the loss of ritual with other people. And so the fact that we can all be here together and see each other's faces on Zoom, you know, it's not the same as all being together at the coffee shop, but it's a big part of what I'm lacking. And I'm very appreciative that I get to be here with you for exactly that reason, because you're feeding my soul by me being able to see your faces just as much as I hope I'm feeding your soul by being here with you. So, how can we have ritual? Because ritual helps us bear loss and change. Megan Down says, there are griefs and losses that cannot be fixed, but they can be carried. And I would add to that, they can be carried in community. And so we are here together today in community. And it's a beautiful thing. And I thank you for joining me. I've had to invent new rituals for myself, given the changes. And some of these have been real silver linings in the experience I'm living through, that we're all living through. We have a very beautiful mini park at the end of our neighborhood. And my husband and I, for years and years and years, have said, we ought to go down there and meditate at the end of the street. It's right there. And somehow we've always been too busy to go. But now we're not too busy to go. And almost every day we're walking down, we're sitting there, and we're doing half an hour of quiet time, very informal ritual, sitting there together and enjoying nature. And so something that we had actually deprived ourselves of, just out of our own manufactured busyness, we now don't have to deprive ourselves of. I've invented a really minimal little ritual I want to share with you, which is, given that you can't hug people and you're maybe saying hi from across the street, this is my new ritual. So you start by, you each put your hand on your heart, and then you reach your hands out as though you're hugging somebody from a distance, you know, but you're at a distance, and then you blow them kisses. So, mwah, mwah. See? It's not everything, but it's better than nothing. It's a lot better than nothing. And I think if we all got into this, it would become a new ritual. I did live for a time at Tassajara, just for a summer, Tassajara Zen Mountain Center. And I really did learn how bowing to someone, when you're both bowing together, that even though you're not physically touching, you really do kind of get in a tune with people. I want to suggest that as well. It's a possibility for these new times that we're facing. I also have a friend across the street who she'll wave, and then she'll say, hello, distant friends. You know, we're like 6 feet apart or 10 feet apart, but we're saying hello, distant friends. Okay. I want to share with you a ritual for bathing and honoring the bodies of the dead. This is something I routinely shared when I was doing book readings and events at libraries and bookstores. And I noticed that a lot of people in the audience would close their eyes when I was leading it. And they came up to me afterwards and they said that what they'd done is that while I was going through it, they had closed their eyes and imagined doing it with the body of somebody who died, someone they loved, where the nature of the death or the nature of the funeral ritual had really not gone according to their liking. It had not been ideal. And they found that simply imagining doing it was extremely healing. So we can heal things in our imagination even when we could not touch people physically. This ritual was invented by 3 oncology nurses at Cottage Hospital in Santa Barbara. They were quite distressed because the bodies in the hospital, and this was pre-COVID, were not being handled with dignity and sacredness. And it was extremely distressing to them because they were close to these patients. They invented this ritual, which I'm going to share with you, and we can go through it together. And I wanted to read you just a little from my book where I have it. Sorry. This is The Art of Dying Well. And what they said was this: after washing and dressing the dead in clothes from home or a clean gown, the nurses encourage relatives and friends to anoint the body with lavender oil. The physicality seems to be very helpful, said one of the nurses. I have a theory that after witnessing a death, we go into shock and our minds become numb and chaotic. When we start bathing and touching our loved ones, our bodies understand what our minds cannot. I just love that. Our bodies understand what our minds cannot. So this is the ritual. You can do it with lavender oil, or you could do it with almond oil or olive oil from your home kitchen. You put a little oil in your palm, and we're going to go through the parts of the body. I want to encourage you to go along with me as I do it. Touch your own body, because we're all suffering skin hunger. Or you could close your eyes and simply imagine doing it with somebody that you love. So we start with the hair, and at each stage of the ritual, you can enter the name of somebody that you're thinking of. So we honor Jane's hair that the wind has played with. That's how it begins. In my case, I'm going to think of Richard, who's a close friend of mine who died in the past year. We honor Jane's hair that the wind has played with. We honor her brow, the birthplace of her thoughts. We honor her eyes that have looked on us with love and seen the beauty of the earth. We honor her ears that listened for our voices. We honor her nostrils, the gateway of breath. We honor your lips that have spoken truth. We honor your shoulders that carried burdens and strengths. We honor your hands that held our hands and did so many things in this life. We honor your heart that has loved us. We honor your legs that carried you into new places of challenge. We honor your feet that carried you to create your own path through this life. We give thanks to the gifts that you gave us. We give thanks for the memories that we created together. We have been honored to be a part of your life. Great. So thank you so much for giving me this chance to share this with you. My personal hope for it is that it could be even more used now with COVID in hospitals, because we're seeing enormous levels of trauma among hospital workers, doctors, nurses, everybody, because they're experiencing so many deaths. And as I'm sure you know, a lot of hospital people interpret any death in the hospital as their personal failure, which is extremely distressing, obviously. And so my hope is that a ceremony like this, if it gets more widely shared, would give them an opportunity for a moment to feel the sacredness, the enormity of the death, and also feel that they were contributing in some positive way to that being a better death than it would have been otherwise. So again, thank you so much for coming. I think we're doing breakout groups, and I'm going to probably, turn it back over to Brad? And, yeah.
Yes, Katy, that was beautiful. And Monica asked us, where can we find this beautiful ritual?
I'm not trying to advertise my book, but it's in the book. It's called The Art of Dying Well. I should put it up on my website or something. I have not, I have to confess, done that yet.
Well, I think
it's also in a book. It's also in Oncology Nursing Forum, which is it's a magazine. It's a journal for oncology nurses. And one of the great beauties of this ritual to me is the fact that these nurses joined a Facebook group I have called Slow Medicine, which is about more humane medicine, especially at the end of life, and that they communicated it with me, and that I now get to communicate with you, and we get to share it more widely.
Yeah, it was really beautiful, and I think you should get Katy's book and look at it there. That's my 2 cents. It's just so unique relative to the other things we've been doing during this portion of our dose of togetherness, and that experience of moving your hands on your own body in this capacity, but also then thinking about somebody else while you're doing it. It's brought up a lot of interesting, powerful feelings. And then you could imagine how healing that would be in the moments that this was initially designed for. And also, I'm just excited for the end of the call today when we can start practicing the first ritual you shared with us when we bid each other adieu. So let's not forget that for the end of the session. So thank you, Katy. With that, I want to dive into the togetherness circles and what we're going to be doing for the rest of the session. So per usual, we are now moving into the phase where we connect and share a feeling of gratitude with one another, which is going to happen when we push a magical button and whisk you away to the far reaches of the internet with others on this call.
Of it was we painted her nails. I'm just saying.
The other thing,
everyone.
Katy, I think that goes really well with the pause Jonathan Bartlett was talking about over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It really goes well together.
Yeah. Thank you.
Just taking the time and honoring the moment, not only how you feel, but also that soul who's left the body.
Yeah, thank you.
Katy, does the actual ritual include more parts of the body, or does it jump from the heart to the legs?
No, that's pretty much it.
Because I missed that. I missed the arms and the belly.
Oh, did I forget the arms? I did the hand. No, I did the shoulders and the hands, didn't I?
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
I
I
don't
did
know
shoulders,
that.
hands, heart, and then legs and feet. It does sort of minimize the bottom part of the body, but you could the wonderful thing about it is it's portable and adaptable, and you could add the hara, you could add the stomach, you could create your own language. What a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Sheila.
So everyone, thank you so much for that fabulous breakout. And it's really neat to drop back in and hear more of Katy sharing. If you don't mind in the chat, if you just want to share kind of what you got out of, what you got from Katy's teaching today, it would be just great to share our gratitude with her through that practice of letting her know, how that touched us or spoke to us. Would be fabulous. I know that I promised I would share something weird about myself.
Can I say something?
Okay, that always scares me. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, you're rocking. Do it.
Daryl will share with
No,
you.
no,
Come on.
it's not that weird. Okay, well, I just think this is like funny. It's more of a funny thing about Brad. So, often we have calls like early in the morning, and maybe hasn't had time to fully groom himself. And his hair, I think, is maybe the weird thing where it like takes on new dimensions that you didn't know. But our colleague Alana has a gift of finding different images from Google that match his hair. Like sometimes it's a squid, sometimes it's like, a man from like the 1600s. But anyways, I feel like his hair has a very special ability.
Good one, Dara. Good one.
Yeah. Sorry, Brad. I think it's okay. That wasn't that bad.
No, you spared me.
But who better, Brad, than Dara? Who better than Dara?
Exactly.
Dara spared me from sharing an additional weird thing about myself. So thanks, Dara. It's the weirdest thing that is my hair. That I'm good.
No. I want to hear Brad's weird thing about himself.
Yeah. Yes.
That's going to have to be for a subsequent call now. I'm sorry.
Brad's not alone.
Sorry, guys. I blew it.
Brad's not alone. He's with his hair.
Yes, there.
So no, because I wanted to make time for us to share this song that I was thinking of for today, which now we're just kind of doing this thing where I'm listening to the speaker and using that as inspiration to figure out what feels right. And today, Katy was talking a lot about kind of the changes that we're going through and how those changes require new ways of thinking. And so what came up for me was David Bowie, the song Changes.
Oh, nice.
By David Bowie. And it's just a great song, but I don't have to talk about it when we can listen to it.
Wait.
Well, wait about mentioning donation to letsreimagine.org. Can I just be the one who says that? You guys, listen, they work so hard behind the scenes, more than 3 times.
I've already donated.
Whatever, I'm just saying, donate. Just go to letsreimagine.org and hit that donate button, and then $10 will make a difference if we all do it, right? I just want to shout out for that. Okay.
Thank you, Gina. I did, before we hit the song, I just wanted to update, or if you want to, about where you can find the dose of togetherness, like moving forward, because things are slightly different with the launch of the festival. So now you're going to actually find them in the festival itself rather than its own separate page, and they're all tagged Dose of Togetherness, so you can just put that in the search, and I'll send you guys the filtered version so that you can just see the Dose of Togetherness. And we have Megan Devine from Refuge in Grief, who's wonderful, is going to be on Monday. And then on Friday, because of Mother's Day, we're going to have a session with Hope Edelman, who is the author of Motherless daughters, but the session will be for anyone. It's not going to just be specific to people who have lost their mothers. And there are more coming up, and that will be added to the website shortly. But I just wanted to flag that it's going to be slightly different in terms of finding it on the website.
And that being said, and the reason that is because as of today, the first batch of events for Reimagine Life, Loss, and Love are now up on the website, where you can see so many incredible events that the community has put forth that I urge you to look through. It's already starting out. It's going to be obviously a 2-month-long festival that we're hosting, and the events are just incredible. And we'll be sharing more about those events, but please browse the schedule and just see what interests you. Most of them are free. And if you have the bandwidth, there's going to be just an incredible array of experiences hosted by people like yourselves from all over the world that I just can't speak highly enough about what I've seen on the calendar. Dara?
And I wanted to note that there isn't going to be a dose of togetherness this Friday, as we're like and I'm sorry about that. We're just focused on trying to get the festival up and running. I will say that the schedule should remain the same. We might shorten or elongate the number of doses during the week. So we'll be informing you, but I would expect next week it will be 3 sessions. The other thing just to put on your radar that's sort of going to be incorporated along the lines of a dose of togetherness is that we're partnering with the author Claire Bidwell Smith, who is a best-selling author. She's wonderful. She's focuses on grief. And she is going to do a series with us called Holding Space, where she's going to be interviewing different kind of experts in grief, end of life, including like B.J. Miller, Alua Arthur, who you all heard of. And then we're going to be having breakout sessions similar to what we've been doing, but the kind of focused area is around kind of holding space for grief specifically. So that is all in the works, as are so many like awesome events. So I'd take a look at the schedule, but more are going to be added in the next like week as well, and throughout the festival. But just so keep checking it. But you can already see a bunch of cool things that are already there.
Yeah, and so please, obviously this group here, these Dose of Togethernesses have been the most incredible, definitely the highlight of, we think about the rituals that have been created. Dan Brooke mentioned it in the chat. It's been the most incredible ritual that I've been a part of. And you've made it so special. I would love to really grow this. UC Berkeley was promoting it for the first couple weeks, but then they had other obligations, and that was our arrangement with them. It was only supposed to be a 2-week initiative, but we just felt so much power around what we were doing. We wanted to keep it going. But with that said, we've lost some of the promotional might behind these sessions, and it would be really fantastic if you would bring a friend next week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to join us, so we can really grow this audience and let more people experience the joy that we've had with one another. That in mind, why don't we get to the song Changes, and then during the song, let's practice. Katy, can you just show us one more time? I want to see our ritual.
There we go. Okay. This is the goodbye ritual? Yes.
Yeah, just so we can practice while we get ready for the song.
Okay, so we start with our hands on the heart, and then we hug and embrace the air, and then we blow each other kisses. Mwah!
Okay, well, don't say goodbye yet. That's so beautiful. That looks so good on Zoom, I have to say. That is so cool. Gary, if you want to tee up the song, let's check out Changes. It's also, if my dad's on the call, I know it's his favorite song as well, so that was a double.
Oh. All right, well, let's hope I know how to do this properly, but here we are. Come on.
Okay.
still don't know what I was waiting for. And my time was running wild, a million dead-end streets. And every time I thought I got it made, it seemed the taste was not so sweet. So I turned myself to face me, but I've never caught a glimpse of how the others must see the faker. I'm much too fast to take that test. Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes. Don't wanna be a richer man. Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes. There's gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time. Yeah. I watch the ripples change their size, but never leave the stream of warm and permanent sand. So the days float through my eyes, but still the days seem the same. And these children that you spit on as they try to change their worlds are immune to your consultations. They're quite aware of what they're going through. Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes. Don't tell them to grow up out of it. Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes. Where's your shame? You've left us up to our next event. Time may change me, but you can't twist time. Strange fascination fascinating me. Our changes are taking the pace I'm going through. Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes. Ooh, look out, you rock and rollers. Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes. Pretty soon now you're gonna get older. Time may change me, but I can't trace time. I said that time may change me, but I can't trace time.
Yay. Big shout out also, I just want to say to Rosa, who's out there, who lost someone dear to her yesterday. As we do our goodbyes, let's honor Rosa's friend together. So let's unmute ourselves and let's try to do this goodbye in coordination.
I'm going to do a funny little greeting for you. I just learned, okay? I think it goes like this. This is so you can say goodbye to people.
All right, here we go, everyone. Let's do it.
And then, oh, I'm trying to do it with these people on the computer. And this, big hug, imaginary. And then, so you can, give people hugs even far away. Want to try it? Yes, you got it. Yay. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that with me. Yay. Okay, back to you now.